Welcome everybody, you're watching 𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗿 Data Science. We're accessing two APIs today which are very simple. Someone on Instagram reached out to me and wanted a little assistance. We're using the Minecraft API to take your username, convert it into a UUID which will be used for the Hypixel API to extract inventory armor. As always, feel free here to hit me up on my socials. The code will be linked in the description below as well as the comments section. Let's get into this. Today we need the request for API calls, JSON to handle our data formatting, as well as pandas to throw it into a data frame later. Future investigations will be decoding or the prospect of decoding these data, which may or may not be possible, unsure. First, let's reach into the Minecraft API. I am creating an inventory armor list where we will store our data, creating an input selection for our user of interest. You see this F string right here is storing our API that we're using from Mojang, where we're taking the user profile for Minecraft and we're using the input statement of the player of interest. I don't think you need this for the parameters, but this portion of code was given to me and I just needed to help them get it working. We need to make sure that everything is okay within a response code of 200. If it was a 403, we would have an error. If it was 429, I think you have too many function calls and you're going to get some throttling, if I'm correct. The person of interest that I used for this formatting today for the input was Dan, capitalized TDM. And from it, you notice that we stored our data as a JSON string with the response printed as text. I have two print statements here, the data and the data ID. Pay attention to this. The first is printing off the statement where we have the information for the data. The next thing, it looks like you're printing off the same thing, correct? Since this is a dictionary, we could take the ID portion of this data and print it off as a value because you're calling the key. So just think about this and say it one more time. I took the data, grabbed the key of ID and printed off the value, which is this user ID for this particular person, Dan. We were taking our username as this here and retrieving this to input as our UUID into Skyblocks or the Hypixel API. You will need to get an API key for this, which will come from you logging in to that specific account and then doing a /API or /API new, and it'll give you an API key. We're going into this API for Skyblocks. We need to use the profile of interest, take our API key, and then input the data that we had from above from the user ID, which was the numeric value returned. We do a GET request to grab the data from this API, same as we did before. Pulling the data, we want a response code of 200, and if it is, we would like to print off the text. Let's do this line by line so we can get an idea of what's going on. Let's block out that code and we get a success value. And we'll scroll down and we'll see what we get. So for this profile ID, this is what we grabbed from the Dan TDM. This is what we're using to input into the Skyblocks API. So why do we use the Minecraft? If you don't know the UUID, which is this right here, then you could find it by putting in the particular player. If it's a valid response, you'll get a value kicked out. If it is not a valid response and there's no information, you will have basically an empty header or HTML body, I should say. The information that we're interested is this today. Okay, these are key value pairs, nested dictionaries. Let's play around with this to get an idea because it's very important to learn how to manipulate and play with JSON data. Let's unblock this and go step by step. We stored this response as a JSON string once again, and we're going to iterate through the profile section. Let's scroll a little bit, and here's our key that we're interested in to pull these data. Because we want to go further inside of it, I want to go inside the member section. That is storing our inventory armor that we're interested in. You can pull any key value pairs you want, but this is illustrating what you want to do. I call this items. Why? Because it's going to return a tuple of your key value pairs. Position 0 in the tuple will be your key. Position 1 will be your item or your value. So we can print that off and get an idea. Let's block this out. So this prints off our tuple. This is the UUID. This is position position number 1, which is storing our JSON data or our dictionary of key value pairs. We need to further go inside this, and we're going to take position 1, which is this, all of this junk. We're going to take the key of inventory armor and return the values of this. So here's the key, and we want to return anything that's inside of this. Pay attention to this type 0. So let's go and grab that, and this is what we're interested in. This little value came from the last portion I said pay attention for the type. We're not going to need that. So what do? Well, let's create a place to store our data for our values and grab that position 1, and let's chuck it into a data frame and see what happens. So let's do that. Wait, but what's going on? It's repeating the same old junk. So something looks kind of awry. What is awry here? Oh, okay. Each time I'm calling this is restoring this same thing as a new entry within our data frame. That's what's going on. How do I avoid this? And now we get this printed off how it should be. We have kind of an issue, don't we? Let's think about what's going on and why this might be an issue. We need to decode this at some point if this is of interest. Let's take this right here and let's look at it. We need to figure a way to break this down at some point if that's of interest to us, to figure out what kind of decoding is necessary. I had some hiccups with trying to decode this, so if anyone has some valuable tools, let me know. But that's a possible future video. It depends on if people have interest or want to contact me about this. This is just a really simple basic video to help you if you're trying to investigate Minecraft or Skyblocks, to do some data parsing, pull specific information that you may have of interest. There's other people who did some videos, but feel free to let me know if you want to see anything else. But as always, I'd like to say please like, share, and subscribe, and if you subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions, hit me up in the comment section or in my community tab. Here's a few tutorials and links that may help someone. If you'd like to help support the channel, I have Buy Me a Coffee, super thanks, channel memberships. See you in the next video. Bye.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head.